Are you planning a trip to Rome and you don't know which landmark you should visit? If so, we've got an amazing video for you today. It's going to be filled with all of the top must-see Rome landmarks.
Stay tuned.
Hi everyone, I'm Rick.
And I'm Andrea. And today we'll tell you all the top must-see Rome landmarks. Also, stay tuned until the end, because we will tell you about a special landmark in Rome that very few people know. But first, if you like travel-related videos like this one, now it's a great time to hit the subscribe button down below, so you'll never miss any future videos.
Right, and also don't forget to hit the bell as well.
Absolutely.
All right, so without further ado, let's begin with the most famous landmark in Rome.
The Colosseum. Now, without any doubts, this is probably one of the most famous landmarks in the entire world. The ancient Colosseum is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The Colosseum is worth a visit for any visitor that is going to Rome.
That's right.
It is an old Roman amphitheater located in the heart of the historic city center of Rome. The Colosseum was built between the 70 AD and 72 AD. It was built to impress the people of Rome and was also used to celebrate the triumph of the Emperor Vespasian over his enemies.
Oh, interesting. So people would go there to enjoy the afternoon.
Absolutely. The Colosseum could accommodate up to 50,000 spectators and was the largest amphitheater of its time. Bearing the test of time, it's one of the most remarkable buildings in Rome.
Wow.
The Colosseum sits in the middle of the city and is easily reached on foot from anywhere in Rome.
Yeah.
Also, it is an easy place to reach the Colosseum by the metro. In fact, there is a metro station called Colosseo, or Colosseum in Italian, right in front of it.
Right. And by the way, we have a video about how to take the subway in Rome.
Absolutely. Today, the Colosseum is one UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Again, yes.
And it's visited by 8,000 people a day. For this reason, if you want to visit the Colosseum, you must buy your ticket in advance, or even better, buy the skip the line ticket. If you don't buy the ticket in advance, you might end up waiting in line for a very long time, especially at the peak season.
Yeah, like in the summer when it's like 40 degrees. By the way, we've left a link in the description below for skip the line tickets to the Colosseum. You want to buy the skip the line. All right, so let's move on to our next must-see landmark in Rome, and we're going to go to the Roman Forum. So the Roman Forum is a large rectangular plaza in the ancient city of Rome. So long ago, it was Rome's political, religious, and commercial heart. The original Forum was built in the 8th century before Christ and was replaced over time by other structures. Now, it's located in the heart of Rome and is just a few steps away from the Colosseum. The Roman Forum was a district of grand temples, government buildings, and bustling markets. The Forum served as a place for public speeches, lawmaking, and other religious ceremonies. Today, the remains of this once grand complex offer a snapshot into Roman life and culture. The ruins of the Forum are now known as the Roman Forum. On top of the Roman Forum, you can also visit the Palatine Hill, where the Roman emperor had their massive imperial palace, one that even would be great for us. Look, there's several notable sites in the Roman Forum, including the Temple of Saturn, the Temple of Julius Caesar, the Roman Senate, and of course the Arch of the Septimus Severus. These temples and monuments are all rich in history and offer visitors a glimpse into ancient Roman life. To visit the Forum, you have to buy the ticket in advance to avoid the long lines at the ticket office like the Colosseum. It's possible to buy a combined ticket also for the Colosseum and the Forum, and of course we left a link for you for that. Now, our next landmark that you must see when visiting Rome is the
Pantheon. The Pantheon is one of the most important buildings in Rome. and it has been there since it was built around 125 or 128 AD.
Wow, that's like 2,000 years ago.
I know. Today, it is the best preserved Roman building in the world. The Pantheon is famous for its beautiful dome. This was the biggest dome in the world until they built the dome in the Duomo of Florence in 1461. And until today is the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world.
And I heard the dome is like super thin as
Very
well.
thin, yeah, I know. Originally, the Pantheon was built as a temple for all the Roman gods. In the 4th century, the Pantheon was converted into a Christian church, and for this reason it lasted intact until today. Nowadays, it is still used as a church. Inside the Pantheon, you can find the tombs of 2 Italian kings and the tomb of the famous painter of the Italian Renaissance, Raphael. The Pantheon is free to visit, but if you plan to visit the Pantheon, make sure to arrive early in the morning to avoid the very long lines at the entrance. So 9 o'clock, when it opens, go there, you will enjoy your visit.
Yeah, and it's absolutely free. And if you want to know more about free things to do in Rome, check out this video up here.
Our next landmark on the list of must-see in Rome is
the Trevi Fountain. You know, it's one of my favorites. The Trevi Fountain is located just a few steps away from the Pantheon. In fact, we usually have a coffee in between. The fountain is one of the most popular spots with tourists who often throw coins during their visit. According to popular belief, a person tossing a coin into the fountain over his shoulder is said to have a return trip to Rome. That's so romantic.
I know.
The Trevi Fountain was designed by the Italian architect Nicola Salvi, and it was completed in 1762 by another Italian architect, Pietro Bracci. The water in the fountains come from one of the origins of the ancient Rome aqueducts called the Aqua Virgo. The aqueducts have been restored during the centuries and has been used by the fountain builder to supply water for this magnificent landmark. The Trevi Fountain is also famous because of the movie in 1960 called La Dolce Vita by Federico Fellini, where the actress Anita Ekberg walks inside the fountain. I think she even swam in there too. Nowadays, swimming in the fountain is strictly prohibited. I've tried, and fines for doing so are very, very steep. All right, so next up on the list of Roman landmarks, we have Piazza
Navona. Piazza Navona is one of the Rome's most popular tourist attractions. The piazza was constructed on the site of the former stadium, the Stadium of Domitian. The ancient stadium gives the piazza its oval shape. The piazza is home to several Baroque churches, fountains, and street performers. There's always something going on here. It has a rich cultural heritage and it is known for 3 fountains, including the fountains of the Quattro Fiumi.
That's the 4 rivers, right?
Yes, the Fountain del Moro and the Fountain of Neptune. The most famous fountain in the piazza is Bernini Fontana dei Quattro Fiumi, the fountain of the 4 rivers, which dominates the center of the piazza. Today, Piazza Navona is a lively and popular gathering place for locals and visitors alike. From Piazza Navona, it is a 10 minutes walking to our next must-see landmark in Rome, that is...
it's Piazza di Spagna. That's the Spanish Steps. The Piazza di Spagna lies at the bottom of the Spanish Steps, and this is a famous stairway that leads to the church called the Trinità dei Monti. The piazza is named after Palazzo di Spagna, which is the historic embassy of Spain to the Vatican. There's 135 steps in the Spanish Steps that lead you all the way to the top. Francesco de Sanctus constructed the Spanish Steps between 1723 and 1726. Now, the lower part of the piazza was formerly a deep open well. At the bottom of the Spanish Steps, you can admire the Fountain of the Barcaccia by Pietro Bernini, the father of the most famous sculpture of the 17th century, Gian Lorenzo. And like every other fountain in Rome, the water is also safe to drink. The Piazza di Spagna was a popular meeting place in early 19th century Rome, especially among students and artists. In fact, at the nearby Cafe Greco, people like Richard Wagner, Lord Byron, Gioacchino Rossini, and so many others used to gather there. Today, the area is also the high-end shopping quarter of Rome. Here, you can find stores of the most luxurious and recognizable brands in the world. From the Spanish Steps to a quick stroll in Via del Babuino brings us to our next must-see Rome landmark.
Piazza del Popolo. Piazza del Popolo is a well-known landmark in Rome. It was built around the 16th century and has been used for many different purposes. Thanks to its beautiful buildings and monuments, it is a particular spot for locals and tourists alike today to sit and gather. Nearby buildings are lovely, including the Church of Santa Maria del Popolo. Inside of this church, you will find some incredible masterpieces. In fact, there are 2 paintings from Caravaggio and the Chigi tomb designed by Bernini himself. And by the way, if you are a fan of Angels and Demons, an entire scene of the movie was filmed here. At the center of the piazza, you can admire one of the many Egyptian obelisks that are brought to Rome by the old Romans.
But the Egyptian stuff?
Yeah. Well, let's jump to the metro and go to our next must-see landmark in Rome, that is...
St. Peter's Basilica. So, St. Peter's Basilica is located, of course, in Vatican City, the smallest country in the world. Vatican City is located in the city of Rome, on the left bank of the river Tiber. The church is in the St. Peter's Square, and the impressive square was also designed by Bernini himself. In order to enter St. Peter's Basilica, you're going to have to pass a security check with a metal detector. And to do so, just FYI, sometimes the lines are really long, so go early, be prepared for this. Also, remember to wear clothes that cover your shoulders and your knees. Now, this is one of the largest churches in the world, and it's, of course, also one of the most popular tourist destinations. The basilica was originally built during the 4th century by the Emperor Constantine, and several popes later, well, they've put their touch and renovated it. The current basilica's construction was commissioned in April of 1506 and was completed in November of 1626. It's a long time. Michelangelo is among some of the famous artists that designed the current version. The basilica is home to several important religious relics, including the tomb of St. Peter. One of the most famous things about St. Peter's Basilica is its dome. The dome is so large that it can be seen almost anywhere in the Rome city center. St. Peter's Basilica is also famous for its art and architecture. The interior is decorated with some of the most beautiful artwork in the world, such as the altar, also designed by Bernini. When visiting St. Peter's Basilica, you should stop and admire the Michelangelo's Pietà, the beautiful marble sculpture or statue of the Virgin Mary holding the dead body of her son Jesus. Now, we'll walk about 10 minutes to reach our next must-see landmark in Rome, and that's
the Vatican Museum and the Sistine Chapel. The Vatican Museums are among the most well-known museums in the world. They are located in the Vatican City and house an incredible collection of art, sculpture, and historic artifacts. The museums were founded by Pope Julius II in the early 16th century and opened to the public in 1771. Every year, 6.7 million people visit this incredible place. For this reason, it is really important to buy your tickets in advance, in order to avoid the extremely long line at the ticket office. As usual, we'll leave a link in the description below to buy your tickets in advance.
Yeah, to skip the line. Exactly. And by the way, we have a video about how to visit Vatican City.
Absolutely. These museums are famous for a good reason. They have a great deal of some of the most valuable art in the world. In particular, enjoy the vast collection of Roman statues, the gallery of the maps, and the gallery of the tapestry. After walking through the museums, you will end up at another of the most famous landmark in Rome, and probably in the entire world, the Sistine Chapel. The Sistine Chapel was built in the 15th century, and it is located inside of the Vatican City. Its name pays homage to Pope Sixtus IV, who commissioned the construction of the chapel. The chapel is famous by its fresco by Michelangelo. In the ceiling you'll find paintings and portraits from the Bible. The most well-known of these images is the creation of Adam, situated in the middle of this picture. The chapel walls are also covered by fresco, including the Last Judgment, which Michelangelo painted towards the end of its own life. The painting covers almost the entire wall. Keep in mind, this is not allowed to take photos inside the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah,
so,
but everybody does it.
Everybody does it, but don't get caught. It will take half a day to quickly visit the Vatican Museum and the Sistine Chapel. Keep this in mind when you plan your visit to Rome. So half a day is just for the Sistine Chapel and the Vatican Museum. Now, let's move on to our next top must-see landmark in Rome and visit the
Campidoglio. I like saying that word for some reason. The Campidoglio is one of the 7 hills on which Rome was built. In Roman times, this was the place of the Temple of Jupiter, the father of the Roman gods. Nowadays, you can admire an amazing piazza designed by Michelangelo himself. In the center of the piazza, you'll find the statue of the Emperor Marcus Aurelius riding his horse. I think he was doing this too, right? The buildings surrounding the piazza are Rome City Hall. From the Campidoglio, you can also admire one of the best views of the Roman Forum. And now, let's move to our next must-see landmark in Rome, and that's right beside the Campidoglio, and that's called the
Altar of the Fatherland. This huge, bright white monument was inaugurated in 1911. In the center, you will see the statue of King Vittorio Emanuele II, the first king of Italy. Also, after World War I, the tomb of the unknown soldier was placed here, and an eternal flame burns in front of it.
Right, all the time.
All the time.
I think that's probably why they call it
eternal. The structure itself is quite impressive, but the best part of it is the view that you can admire from the top. In fact, once you climb the several sets of stairs, you can admire an amazing view of the entire city, from the Colosseum to the Vatican. This is another free landmark in Rome. You do not need to buy a ticket to get inside. But again, as a sign of respect, you need to wear clothes that wear your shoulder and your knees. So let's move to our next top must-see landmark in Rome, that is...
the Mouth of Truth.
One of your favorite.
Yes, of course. The one where I feed cookies to, right?
Exactly.
All right, so if you walk just 5 minutes from the altar of the Fatherland towards the river Tiber, you'll pass by Marcello's Theater, another beautiful landmark in Rome. Then you can continue walking by a few more blocks, and you'll arrive at the Church of Santa Maria in Cosmedin. In this church, you'll find the Mouth of Truth. It's actually right in the front. It's an ancient artifact that represents it's basically a giant face with its mouth open. According to legend, if you're a liar and you put your hand in the mouth, the statue's going to bite your hand. Nowadays, it's a popular place for tourists to take photos with their hand inside the Mouth of Truth. And of course, this is another free attraction to visit in Rome, and it's definitely worth a visit. Now, remember at the beginning of this video, we told you that we're going to give you one extra landmark that almost nobody knows about, at least you won't find it in many tour books. It's called
the Michelangelo's Moses. If you walk 5 minutes from the Colosseum, you will find an ancient church of San Pietro in Vincoli. Inside of this church, you will find the ancient chains that, according to legend, were used to chain St. Peter to his martyrdom. But this is not the only thing that this church is famous for. Right beside the main altar, you can admire another masterpiece by Michelangelo himself, the statue of the Moses.
Like the real Moses?
Moses.
This is Moses.
Moses that Michelangelo sculpted. This impressive statue was carved by Michelangelo for the tomb of Pope Julius II between 1513 and 1515. This masterpiece is not very well known among tourists, and it's again totally free to visit. So we strongly recommend you to go and visit it because it's something that you must see.
Yeah, and before they start charging for
Exactly.
Well, this concludes our video of the top must-see Roman landmarks. Obviously, these are not all of the landmarks in Rome, but they're the most famous ones because Rome has
So much more to offer, and we strongly recommend you visit and spend a very few days in the Eternal City.
We hope you enjoyed the video, and as usual, if you have any questions, leave a comment below. We love to respond, and we love reading them, and so on. In the meantime, we will see you in our next video.
Ciao!
Ciao!